Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It has been a minute since I've sat down and done a get ready with me. So today I am going to be updating you guys on where I've been, what I've been up to, politics, suing Sephora, cancel culture, a lot of stuff. We're just gonna chit chat today, and I figured I would do my makeup and just hang out with you guys. If you follow me on Instagram, then you know I'm super active on Instagram, so make sure you follow me on there if you don't already. I post the most on Instagram. I'm like every day posting on there, as well as I've been super active with my brand new podcast. We're about to do episode 22, which is crazy, but I'm gonna talk about all of that in this video. I do miss my YouTube family. I miss you guys. Don't think because I'm not posting that I don't, but YouTube definitely takes the most work when it comes to producing content. I'm gonna get into that a little bit later. But I'm excited to sit down and chat with you guys and just do some makeup. If you want to know about any of the products that I use on my face today, I will link everything in the description bar down below. I'm not going to focus really on the products. I'm just going to get ready and chat with you guys. So make sure to check the down bar. If I forgot anything, let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you guys as soon as I can. So the last couple of months have been a whirlwind for sure. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, I announced that I am officially suing Sephora. So I have videos on my IGTV on my Instagram you can check out if you haven't already seen them. I don't want to talk about it too much in this video because I do want to do a video with my lawyer coming up later as we update you guys with the case. But in a nutshell, if you're not caught up, I am suing Sephora for defamation. Sephora is a multi-billion-dollar company. This is beyond just saying, hey, I don't want to work with someone because their political views don't align with mine. Sephora spread defamatory statements not only on social media, but also within their company. I did a video last week showing the whistleblower that came forward on Sephora, and I showed the emails from their CMO. This is a top Sephora executive that sent out defamatory statements about me that are false to their employees. It's insane, it's disgusting, it's evil, all because my views don't align with theirs. They think that, okay, well, we'll just try to ruin her career. My lawyer, John Pierce, is a patriot. He is an amazing, amazing attorney, and he focuses on free speech. And we are not gonna stop until we make an example, until justice is served, and until we show that cancel culture is a cancer of our society, because that's what it is. And I want to talk about cancel culture today as well, because every week, multiple people are being canceled for their voice and their opinions. And it's wrong, it's disgusting, it's not free America. That's what totalitarianism is. That's what communism is. This lawsuit is not just about me. It's not just about conservative voices. I am standing up for conservative voices and for other conservatives who have been discriminated against for their views, for their freedom of speech, but it's also for everyone's voice. I don't understand how people can sit there and say, oh, well, people who don't agree with my views should be silenced. Silencing your opposition is not a political problem. That's a human issue. Censorship is a human issue. Telling someone they don't deserve their not only freedom of speech and constitutional right to their voice, but their God-given natural-born right. The Constitution does not give you your freedoms. It protects your natural-born, God-given liberties. No one can take that away from you. And we find ourselves in this slippery slope of a society right now where people are saying, oh, well, I don't agree with their views, so they need to be deplatformed. They're dangerous. They're spreading misinformation, all because their opinion offends you. That is a very slippery, irreversible slope. Any free country can devolve into communism. And a lot of people don't understand what communism is. They don't know the history of communism. They don't know the hundreds of millions of people who have died and suffered and still continue to suffer from communist regimes. In the US, we live in a society where people will sit there on their $1,000 phones, have their $6 cup of coffee, their $200 shoes, and say that they're oppressed. And there are radical Marxist agendas being pushed. I like to call them woke ideologies, but they're far left Marxist views. Critical race theory would be one example of this. So critical race theory teaches you that you are either oppressed or you are the oppressor. It teaches children that if they're white, they are racist. If you've ever seen kids playing at school, they don't see color. Children are not born racist. Racism is an evil taught behavior that is passed down, whether it's from family or people around them. Racism is learned behavior and it's evil. Teaching our youth things like critical race theory just teaches white children to feel bad for their skin color. that they are racist, that they need to apologize for who they are. And we find ourselves in this society where everything is racist, everyone is racist. If you are a person of color, then you are oppressed. This type of teaching teaches children that they should judge others based on their skin color versus their character. I don't want to be judged for my skin color. I want to be judged for my character, how I treat people, and for my skill set. I don't want to get a job because of my skin color. I want to get a job because I'm qualified. I want to be recognized for talent, for skills, for my voice, for my mind, for my soul, not because I'm a woman, not because of my ethnicity. I never talked about politics until it became clear to me that people's lives are being destroyed with cancel culture because of their views, because they were conservative, because they supported President Trump. And, you know, you hear people say, oh, politics are controversial. Politics it's definitely divisive. But you hear people saying, just stay out of it, like stay out of politics. But staying out of politics is how we got where we are now, right? The people aren't aware of what's happening in our country. And when we're not aware of what's happening, what's going on, I mean, the government works for us. So when we don't tell the government what to do, and we just let them run around and do what they want with our tax dollars, run around and do whatever kind of policy they want, it's like toddlers running around without parents. They work for us. You know, everyone should be involved in politics in the nation as well as in their city. And I just think we've been conditioned to think that politics is not for you unless you're a politician. But look at what politicians have done over the years, right? Politicians are usually career politicians, which means they only line their pockets. I mean, red or blue, there's corruption in both parties. That's just a fact. But I always find it ironic that when I started speaking up on politics, it was, oh, go back to beauty. Like, don't talk about politics. You're a beauty content creator. And coming from people who preach inclusivity and diversity and use your voice and be yourself, be your true self, people who claim that they want you to be successful and they want you to be the best version of yourself, then put you in a box. If, let's say, you're like me, a beauty influencer too, oh, you do makeup, you don't know anything about politics. I hope me speaking out can show you that you can be beauty and brains. Why do you only have to do makeup and that's all you know about? I mean, I know people who are not in politics that could do a lot better of a job than half of the people that are actually in politics. And we are seeing a wave of really promising people that are going to be running in the midterms and in 2022. But I will not be put into a box. I pay taxes like every other citizen. I'm a law-abiding citizen. So I absolutely will talk about politics or whatever I want, you know, and everyone should be able to do that and should feel bold and confident to do that, you know? I don't care if you're red, blue, or somewhere in the middle. I support your freedom to use your voice. The problem we find right now is mob rule, is what they call the woke mob, usually the left mob, is if you disagree with them, they cancel you. They destroy your lives, they destroy your career. They won't stop until you're gone, you're silenced, you're deplatformed. They don't think you deserve your voice. If people could have more honest conversations with each other, we would be in a lot different of a situation right now. If people would actually be tolerant and actually include people who have different opinions, different views from them, instead of just blindly following the media and propaganda, we'd be in a very different situation. Like, I've said this multiple times in my podcast, on my Instagram. It's never been about red or blue. It's always been about the 99%, we the people, against the 1%, which is the elite. You know, they know that politics divides people. And we've seen that more clear than in my lifetime last year during the election. You can't call yourself inclusive or that you want women or people to use their voice if you only want voices that sound like yours. And we've seen that all over social media in every industry, not just in the beauty industry, but every industry. If you don't believe in the same things I do, it's fine. It doesn't bother me. My beliefs are how I make decisions for my life. Your beliefs will dictate your life. You don't have to believe the same things that I do. I'm passionate about sharing my beliefs because it's who I am, you know? If you believe in something, you can't just shut it off or ignore it because you think you're going to offend someone, you know? In today's world, people are offended by everything, and being offended doesn't make you a good person. If we all thought the same, we wouldn't really be thinking, would we? And I feel like what the mainstream media pushes is that everyone has to think the same, act the same, everyone has to be the same. It's like they want us all to just be like one body of clones, like robots, just doing whatever they say, not questioning anything, trusting the science. You know what I mean? Like they try to scare you with cancel culture or call you names, you know, when they can't attack your message. They attack you, the messenger. They attack how you look, or they put labels on you, try to call you names. If you're conservative, you know, at this point, you've been called everything in the book. You're just like, y'all need to come up with something else, because we know we're none of those things. And it's just like you're taking away from actual racist people, actual bad, evil people, because you want to call everyone who disagrees with you racist. I want to do a smoky wing today. I'm going to try to keep talking and do it on camera, but I don't know about y'all, but when I do my winged liner, I'm like focused. Switching topics for a second, I'm going to be in Orlando next week. I'm really excited. I'm speaking on a panel at the Faith and Freedom Coalition. Let me actually pull it up really quick. It's called The Road to Majority. So it's going to be the 17th of June through the 19th. I linked it on my stories, but I'm speaking on a panel. It's the Hispanic Millennial Breakout Panel on Friday. I believe the panel that I'm speaking on is called Waking Up Gen Z, with like the sleepy Z's. I've never been to this conference before. It's my first time, but it's everything to do with conservative values, pro-family, pro-faith, pro-freedom. I'm really excited, and there are a lot of great speakers that are going to be there. So I wanted to give you guys a little update on where I've been, why I haven't been posting as much YouTube content. Since the Sephora thing, I've really been leaning into my Bible, leaning into where God is taking me in this next season. And I've been doing a lot of press. I've been doing a lot of different really fun projects with conservative and freedom-loving organizations like PragerU, Daily Wire. I got to go on the Candace Owens show this week. That was really fun. I remember a year ago, I was watching Candace Owens videos in my living room. I've always had a heart for empowering and lifting up other women. And Candace is just someone who's very bold and unapologetic in who she is and what she thinks. Whether you agree with what she says or not, she is a force, and she is not afraid to say what she thinks. And I think that she is so strong. So it was really cool that a year later I got to be on her show and be on a panel and talk about politics. And if you follow me on Instagram, you would hear me talk about the Book of Esther. I talked about how God has spoken to me through the Book of Esther and been pushing me towards the Book of Esther. God has been reminding me that in the Book of Esther, it was her beauty that captivated the king. But her voice is what saved the Jews. Her voice is what saved her people. God really has the best sense of humor, because even as I've seen in my own life, I've been doing beauty, right? Exterior, like makeup and cosmetics for almost a decade. And that brought people to my space was, makeup, talking about beauty and makeup tips. But now the impact that I'm having and what God is using my platform for is for truth and is for my voice. And God has given me this spirit of courage and bravery and put this undeniable peace just around me and everything that I'm standing for and everything that I'm doing. And I've never felt like my platform has had as much purpose as it has had since I started speaking up on my views and my beliefs. And it's amazing and humbling to watch. I really believe that God gave me my platform for such a time as this, which is Esther 4:14. And we've seen the last year as God is just bringing so much to the surface and really exposing every industry, from entertainment, Hollywood, to health industry, to the financial market, to the government, big tech, to beauty, influencing. You know what I mean? Like, God is showing so much. And I think we have a spirit of pride in this nation right now. And there are a lot of people who are just not willing to see the truth. They're not willing to change their minds when they learn new information. They're not willing to change their stance when they see corruption come out, and it's really sad. And pride will destroy and eat you from the inside out. Like, you have to be willing to die to yourself and pick up your cross every single day. I don't think people are coming to my page just because they like me. I think it's God, because I always give all glory to God. And I've taken this shift in my platform. Like, I've been walking with Jesus for a long time now, but it wasn't until the last year, which I feel like I really just went all in and said, God, like, I will give up anything and everything for you. I will do whatever you ask me to do. And it was through obedience to God's word that I found my true purpose. And it really transformed my life. Side note, if you haven't already listened to my podcast, Liberty Before Lipstick, I have a lot of episodes on God. I talk about God in scripture a lot. I have a whole episode on putting on the full armor of God and what that means. In my podcast, I talk about everything and anything from politics to faith to encouragement through scripture, current events, everything in between. I think I mentioned earlier that we're about to be in episode 22 next week, which is awesome. I can't believe it's already been that many. It's so great. I've had so much peace through this podcast, and the reaction, I'm trying to focus on the lash glue. The reaction has been so positive and so great. And it's just been amazing to be able to use my voice and to bring a different perspective to people that maybe didn't see it before, and also to create a space where people who have like-minded views as me and think the same, the same kind of views and beliefs as me, feel like they're being heard. Because I've noticed, especially with conservatives, that the last year the media wants to make you feel like you're alone, that you are the only one, when I do believe we are the majority. I just think the media is louder and Hollywood is louder because they control the media. I also have an entire podcast episode on who controls our media. And I put a lot of work into these podcast episodes. So if you have been listening to it, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy it. If you're tuning in to my podcast, don't forget to download it. You should have an option on Spotify and on Apple, and make sure you're following and subscribe to it. I've watched in this season how there is such a clear divide of who is living for God, who is driven by the Spirit, and who is driven by the culture and driven by the world. I can't remember where I saw this, but I saw someone post that God was doing the sift before the shift. And it was so good. It's something that stuck with me. You are seeing people who really are standing on God's truth no matter what the world says, because the culture and the world, everything that it does draws you away from God, from his promises, right? It's meant to keep you confused, to keep you busy, to keep you in the culture. What the world says is good, what the world says is beautiful, what the world says success is. And if you're someone that has seen all of the corruption and all the things being revealed in every part of the system, like every part of the establishment, like I mentioned earlier, from financial to Hollywood to sports to all of these things that now we're able to see that we never really saw before. I don't believe that God has woken us up just to go back to sleep. I don't believe there's a new normal like the government keeps trying to push. I believe that revival is coming to the church. I believe that we are about to see God make his move. And I really believe we're going to be going into some of the best years of our life. I truly believe that. I did a video on Instagram last week, impromptu, just talking about things that God had spoken to me. And God spoke to me in a way that never has it happened in my entire life. And, if you've watched my videos for any amount of time and you've kind of seen my journey and, what I've gone through online and just been a part of my journey, I would not risk my status. I would not risk, credibility. I would not risk my career built on nothing. And it's sad to say, but we don't live in a society right now where everyone acknowledges free speech and respects other people's freedom to have their own beliefs, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, like I mentioned a million times. But what's happening right now is biblical. We're living in biblical times. And I'm not going to be someone that just sits by and is quiet. I don't care what people think about me. I don't care what people say about me. And that's what scares people. When you are someone that is so convicted in your beliefs, it terrifies people who want to control you. It terrifies people who don't really stand for anything. It scares people who see someone stand up and be bold in their faith, be bold in their voice, be bold in their views, when they can't do the same because everything that they post about is fake. It's a lie. And truth pokes cracks in that lie. And I've watched that in every industry, as people that say they stand for other people really don't. They only do it when it's convenient or when that person agrees with what they say, but they really don't care about anyone else. They care about their pocket. They care about money. They care about status. They care about using their audience to get what they want. They use their audience to sell products, and they really don't care about anyone else but themselves. I'm not someone who can be intimidated. I'm not someone who is going to back down just because someone doesn't agree with my point of view or because something I say offends someone. Like, let's be real. There's no one in this world that you can agree with 100% of what they say. I'm not going to apologize for my beliefs and for my voice. Freedom of speech means freedom of speech, even the things that offend you. And it's not just opinions that offend people now, it's also truth. And I'm going to be real. If the truth offends you, then perhaps you're living in a lie. Truth does not care about your feelings. Truth does not have an agenda. And people who are spreading truth and searching for truth, they are just being persecuted right now in so many ways. And it's like, they didn't make up the truth, you know? The truth just is. It's the truth. It doesn't matter if you agree with it. It doesn't matter if you like it. And the sooner you realize that, the better you're going to be off in life. I mean, look at all of the things coming out the last couple of weeks on Trump that Instagram and the media and fact checkers now have to say, oh, this was fake. We lied. That wasn't true. Oh, why? Because the election's over now, right? The media trained people to hate Donald Trump. They're never held accountable for their lies and for what they've done. If you follow Project Veritas, they really specialize in whistleblowers. I covered the CNN one in a podcast episode, so you can go check that out if you want. But you have, someone who works high up at CNN talking about their agenda, talking about the lies they told, and people can see it and still not see it. Do you know what I mean? People that are going against the mainstream, people that are going against the grain, that are sharing truth and sharing all these things, you have to ask yourself, what do they have to gain? They really don't have anything to gain. If anything, they have a lot to lose. Look at all these people that are being canceled by cancel culture, being dropped in Hollywood, from even in influencer spaces. Like, I can't tell you how many DMs I've received from other people who have lost sponsorships with brands for their opinions and for their voice, for their going against the mainstream and daring to question or daring to think differently and not just agree with everything that the mainstream media says. I've been thinking a lot about how the world tells you to follow your heart, but the Bible tells you to guard your heart. Proverbs 4:23 says, guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. And I've been reminded of the scripture a lot the last year, because if you look at the media and if you look at the far left radical agenda that's being pushed, everything that they use to get people to agree with this agenda has to do with your emotions. It has to do with, well, if you don't follow this, you're not a good person. You're racist. You're a bigot. But when you look at the stats and you look at the bills, like even with the HR1 bill, with the voting, how they say that voter ID is racist. I have a whole podcast episode on this as well. Not going to go far into it, but just saying what should be common sense. The only people who wouldn't want voter ID are people that would want to cheat. Because the whole premise of voter ID being racist is that, well, Black people and minorities, they don't have access to cars. They don't know how to get to the DMV. That's racist. That is so racist. I talk about in that podcast episode all the things that you have to have ID for that apparently isn't racist, such as flying on an airplane. Even though all the airlines are saying, oh, voter ID is racist, yet you have to have an ID to get on a flight. You know what I mean? A lot of people are being led by their emotions. And that's why they blindly follow it. They don't do their own research. And doing your own research is hard, especially today. Everything is covered up or censored. You have to dig for it. A lot of people are just trying to survive. They have kids, they have a family, they're in school, just trying to make a living, working multiple jobs. It's hard. It really is. And I understand that. Your heart and your emotions will fool you. That was the point that I was going to make, is, your heart changes with your emotions. That's why God said in the Bible to guard your heart, because everything flows from it. If you live a life that's led by emotion, you're going to be easily manipulated and controlled, because anyone that can evoke certain emotions out of you are going to be able to control you. If I can encourage you guys in this episode to do anything, it's to always search for truth, even when it's not popular, and to be doing your own independent research. I don't even use Google anymore. I use DuckDuckGo because the algorithm in Google is just so biased. It's always the same 3 things. Like when I've made podcast episodes on certain topics, if I type into Google, it'll have a fact check for everything. But when I type into like DuckDuckGo, for example, it'll show you the actual sources that Google suppresses so that you don't see it. It's insanity. It's really crazy if you think about it. So back to how I haven't been creating as much content on YouTube. You know, YouTube was my first platform that I built up, and it was my first, like, it's my baby, you know, that's what I built up with makeup tutorials and makeup reviews. But obviously as other platforms have grown, you know, I definitely think that I spend the most time on Instagram. I think it's just the easiest because you have stories and IGTV and photos. It's kind of like all in one. You have lives. And I just love how easy Instagram is compared to YouTube, if I'm honest. You know, YouTube is, I'm in my studio right now, in my beauty studio. So it's studio lights and it's equipment and it looks great, but it's a whole nother level of production. And I've been really focused on getting as much information out as quickly as possible. And because I have a very small team, it's just harder for me to get information out as much when I'm using YouTube. So I've really just been focusing mainly on Instagram. I also feel like the last year, if it's taught me anything, is that time is your most valuable asset. And I used to be so hard on myself all the time when it came to YouTube because YouTube is definitely a lot of work, you know, especially when you're filming and you're editing and you're kind of doing everything. And I haven't had the time that I've wanted to dedicate to YouTube. You know, I don't want to just be uploading tons of content to have it there. Like for me, it's always been about quality over quantity. And if it's not something I fully believe in, that I love, I'm not going to upload it. I filmed an updated curly hair routine since it's been a year, and I started editing it and I was like, I can do better. So I never uploaded it. This year, I've really been focusing on Instagram. I've been focusing on my podcast. I've been focusing on my brand, which I have hinted here and there, but I have a very small team, like a very, very small team. So I do as much as I can, but I feel like I'm always kind of running around doing everything. That's something that I've learned over the years, is not to just pretend to be happy online. Like you have to actually be happy. It's so much more important to actually be happy in your life than just pretending like you're happy online, because there are a lot of people that post all the time and portray a life that is not really what they live, and I would never want to be that person. I am unapologetically me, whether people like it or not. I don't really care. I think everyone should be unapologetically themselves and, you know, not care what other people think about it, because life is just too short. And a lot of people say that, but they don't actually live it. I'm going to be here standing up for what I believe in, doing what I like, posting the content that I like. To me, it doesn't matter if people are okay with it or not. You know, I'm not going to let anyone else dictate the way that I live my life. The beauty industry for too long, there are so many creators who are terrified to speak up for what they believe in because they know that cancel culture and the mob will try to cancel them. I am not going to live as a slave to public opinion. I am not going to live as a slave to whatever the beauty industry adds in their inclusivity or in their little box of what people can do, say, be, think, or act. I'm going to live my life for God, for my faith, and to pursue what God has for me the best that I know how. All that matters to me is what God thinks of me. I don't care what people think about me. I will stand with God every single day than standing with the world. I will never stand with the world if it means to be judged by God. I will always stand with God. I had to take a quick break to fill up my water bottle because I drank all my Topo Chico and it is hot. We have brand new MMGA water bottles, by the way, these little like hydro flask thermoses, and they have the star with like the American flag in it. They're super cute. We have 2 more color options now. We have the black and white and then the white with the gray. They keep your drinks so cold or hot. It depends on if you want cold or hot, but I'm always like a cold drink person. So good. I like to chop up little lemon slices and put them in here throughout the day. And when I'm going to the gym, so good. Okay, I have a serious question for you guys. I asked this on my Instagram yesterday, but I want you to comment down below and let me know who you think is running our country right now. Genuine, serious question. Who do you think is running the country right now? On another note, I want to say thank you to everyone who has been standing with me through Sephora, through everything, you know, supporting my work. I know there are a lot of people who've been following me for a long time that are like, hey girl, like I stand with you. And I really appreciate it because my platform has never been about just me. Like I always put you guys first, whether you realize it or not. It's never been about money for me. I have been grateful and God has blessed me to be able to do this for work. If I only cared about money, I would have never talked about Sephora. I would have never shared my story. I would have signed their little waiver to be quiet and I would have taken money and left, and I didn't. What's happening in our country right now is an attack. It's an attempt to change America's values, to change the freedom that we have and that we love about this country. It's an attempt to turn this country into socialism and into communism. And everyone should be aware of what's happening, and you should stand for truth and you should stand for freedom. And freedom can be taken away in an instant. Everyone should be standing together. You know, we are so much stronger together. We should all be standing together to stand next to one another, because if one of us isn't free, then none of us is free. I've never felt more supported and felt closer to you guys than I have in the last couple months, than I have in my entire career. It's been incredible to see what God's doing, to see how God has turned everything the enemy meant for bad for good. I mean, it's been a ride. It's been crazy to watch. And I'm so thankful for what God's doing, not just in my life, but for things that he's about to do. With as much corruption there's also revival coming. And God is doing so much that we don't even see yet. And if you've been keeping up with current events and news, you're already seeing so much happening that if you don't pay attention, it just flies right on by and you don't even notice it. But we are seeing so much being brought to the surface. And I think God is raising voices all over this nation, all over the world for his truth. And he's raising an army of people that have themselves wrapped in the armor of God. And it's beautiful to see. I have met so many amazing people the last couple of months, and I would have never met them if I didn't take a chance, if I didn't take a leap of faith and speak out. I would have never met so many amazing people. If you're someone who has been afraid to use their voice, if you are afraid of what people are gonna say, you're afraid of what people are gonna think, whether it's in your family, people that you think are your friends, I will tell you the first time is definitely the hardest of speaking up and, you know, being bold in your faith, your beliefs, your views. The first time is hard, but every time it gets a little easier and you build this armor. And the only reason why I'm so strong is because of God. Like God has just been wrapping me all the way and supporting me and just holding me. Once you keep speaking out, it's just second nature, you know? Once you start using your voice and you realize your rights and your freedoms that no one can take away from you, even though they will try, and they will try to intimidate you, to censor you, to deplatform you, to cancel you, you find this purpose and this freedom. And if you're a Christian, you will just tune in so much more to God and to what he's saying to you than you ever have in your life, because you tune out all the distractions and you tune out the world, and you will find a purpose that you never knew possible. At least that's been my personal experience. This is the final look. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, give it a like, and don't forget to be subscribed to my channel. You hit it down below. I hope you guys have a great week. God bless. I'll see you on my other social media platforms, such as Instagram, if you're following me there, and in my next YouTube video.